Julio Jones has came out publicly and voiced his frustration with the Atlanta Falcons franchise. He had asked for a trade months before, but now it is made public that Julio Jones officially wants out of Atlanta. And there have been a couple of teams that have been rumored to be in pursuit of him. Teams like the New England Patriots, the Seattle Seahawks, even some rumors have been thrown around about my Chicago Bears. But I think the team that makes the absolute most sense for a trade to happen will be the Baltimore Ravens. Before I get into why that is, make sure you guys leave this video a like. That helps this channel to grow, and continue to show your support by clicking that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you will not miss a single video that I post on this channel. But let's get into this Julio Jones saga. Without further ado, let's dive into it.
I'm striving to get rich. That's why I always went 2 years without buying shoes and fits. Things change now. My mom hearing me with my music and she look a little proud.
First, let's talk about these rumors from the Falcons' perspective. The Falcons are coming off a 2020 season where they blew a couple of leads once again, and they ultimately fell to a 4-12 record, and they held the number 4 overall pick, which they used to select Kyle Pitts, tight end out of Florida. This Atlanta Falcons team, as we stand right now, offensively, with a guy like a Julio Jones, can be a very explosive offense. When you pair him with Kyle Pitts, Calvin Ridley, and you have Matt Ryan, who I still think is one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. But this Atlanta Falcons team has really no direction, mainly on the defensive side of the ball. They bring in Arthur Smith, who is an offensive guy, but the Atlanta Falcons' biggest problem over the last 2 seasons has been their defense and their inability to hold leads. They lost guys like Keanu Neal in free agency. They lost guys like KZ in free agency. And this Falcons team on the defensive side of the ball has no sense of direction. This Falcons team, even with the offensive side of the ball, is not going to be a winning team, I think, in the near future. Julio Jones is at this point where he feels he is very frustrated with the direction of this Atlanta Falcons organization. He doesn't feel that this Atlanta Falcons franchise is going to be winning and competing for a Super Bowl championship anytime soon. And I would have to agree with him, as their Super Bowl window, I think, has closed with Matt Ryan aging, Julio getting up there in age, also his inability to stay fully healthy for a full season, even though they do have some young pieces around them, and Ridley and Pitts. This Falcons team, as it stands right now, doesn't have a sense of direction, and Julio Jones' frustrations are very understandable with his contract disputes in the past that he has had with this organization, with the team really failing to live up to expectations, and mainly that was because of the defensive side of the ball not being able to hold their own weight. And Julio Jones has gotten to the point where he feels it's time for him to have a change of scenery. It's time for him to take his career in a different direction. And I honestly agree with him, because his Falcons team, like I said, has no sense of direction as we stand at this point. Even when drafting Kyle Pitts, number 4 overall, I felt that that Falcons team should have really focused on the defensive side of the ball that has been struggling over the last few years, even with Deion Jones and Grady Jarrett anchoring the front 7. That secondary has not been very good at all over the past couple of years. Keanu Neal has been a good player, but he has not stayed healthy throughout the course of a full season. So when you look at this Atlanta Falcons team, it is not very competitive, and I don't think it's going to win right now. The team that is most intriguing, and I think is the best fit for Julio Jones, is the Baltimore Ravens. This Baltimore Ravens franchise is ready to win now. The pieces that they have on both sides of the ball are ready to compete for a Super Bowl title as we stand right now, especially when you have Lamar Jackson, who I think is a very dynamic quarterback, still on his rookie deal. And I think it is time for this Baltimore Ravens franchise to really capitalize on having Lamar Jackson's talents on a rookie deal before you have to pay him that big money. And you have to get him some help around him and capitalize on this opportunity while you have it, before he is going to obtain those premier quarterback dollars. You have a dynamic running game with Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. You have receivers like Sammy Watkins and Hollywood Brown on the offensive side of the ball. Even though you do lose Orlando Brown Jr. in a trade, I still think this Baltimore Ravens offense is one of the more potent offenses, especially when you look at the things that they can do with the running game. This Baltimore Ravens defense is definitely a top 10 defense in the NFL. Patrick Queen is coming into his own as one of the better players in the league. Marlon Humphrey is one of the better DBs, I think, in the league. You do lose Judon to the New England Patriots, but I really still feel that this Baltimore Ravens defense is a excellent defense and is very, very capable of being a championship defense. One of the things that has been really holding back this Baltimore Ravens franchise from really being a true contender is their passing game. Now, their passing game on the middle to tight ends like Mark Andrews and Hollywood Brown, things he's able to do in the slot, have been very, very productive and very, very successful. But one of the holes that this Baltimore Ravens team has is being able to attack outside the numbers. Even though Hollywood Brown, I think, is still a very good receiver and can do some things outside the numbers, you don't really have that complimentary number 2 wide receiver. The Dez Bryant experiment didn't necessarily go too well, and I think it is time for them to bring in help. Even though Sammy Watkins, I think, can help, I don't think he's going to be anywhere near that dynamic that a Julio Jones is. You put Julio Jones aside Lamar Jackson, who I think is improving more and more each and every season as a passer. You give that Ravens offense an element of run and pass, especially when you have a dynamic weapon like Julio Jones in your offense. But one of the keys to this offense working is having a productive running game, which it's going to have. So when you pair them with a guy like a Julio Jones, you pair him with Hollywood Brown, you pair him with Mark Andrews, who has developed into one of the better tight ends in football, you can really see this Ravens offense taking that next step and going to a totally different level with a Julio Jones inserted into this roster. Julio Jones, I think, is a guy who has been one of the best receivers in the league for at least the last decade or so. He's been one of the top tier guys in this league, and then you add him to a Baltimore Ravens franchise who desperately needs outside receiver help. You add him to a Baltimore Ravens team that desperately needs help on the passing game. This offense is going to take itself to an entire different level with a guy like a Julio Jones to pair with the weapons on offense and Lamar Jackson that you already have, and you have to capitalize on this chance now to win a Super Bowl before Lamar Jackson is able to obtain those top dollars. Now, you're probably going to have to give up somewhere within the first round pick, maybe some thirds, maybe a secondary player, but is it going to be worth it for this Baltimore Ravens team if they want to compete for a Super Bowl right now at this moment? Absolutely yes. This Baltimore Ravens team is right on the cusp of being a Super Bowl contender, especially when you have to compete with the Kansas City Chiefs offense in the AFC. You have to compete with a Buffalo Bills offense in the AFC. You get Julio Jones inside of that roster and inside that locker room and on the football field, that's going to elevate this Baltimore Ravens offense even more to be more than just a one-dimensional running game team. And then you have to worry about the threats of Hollywood Brown, Mark Andrews, and now an inserted Julio Jones. Now, other teams like Seattle and New England could make some sense, but I think the team that most desperately needs to get after him, and I think the team that makes the absolute most sense as far as bringing him onto this roster and what impact that he can have on the roster, will be the Baltimore Ravens. But that is all I have for you guys today. Make sure you guys leave this video a like. That helps to continue this channel to grow. What do you think about a Julio Jones trade to the Baltimore Ravens? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below and continue the conversation forward. And if you have gotten to this point in the video, make sure you click that subscribe button and notification bell so you will not miss a single video. But I'm APW Sports signing out. Make sure you guys stay safe, have a great and excellent day, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.